I saw Christopher Nolan's movie, The Odyssey, this morning, and I've got a shock verdict for you. I saw it in 70mm. I had to see it at 8 in the morning because it was the only time I could get to see it. The cinema was packed at 8 in the morning, and all over London, where I am now in the United Kingdom, cinemas are selling out. So what's the message? What's the verdict? Well, for a start, the movie is fantastic. I'm sorry that's bad news for the haters. I can hear your hearts sinking from here, but The Odyssey is going to be a smash, and I'm predicting this. It's going to take away every Oscar you can imagine. The orchestrated hate campaign against The Odyssey has failed completely. It's really been a triumph for great movie making over a wall of hate from people on social media. In case you hadn't noticed, it's already scoring well into the 90% on Rotten Tomatoes among both critics and audiences. I had to laugh in the opening moments of the movie where we see Elliot Page, the trans actor who is defending the horse that's going to be taken into Troy. And all that fuss, all that stuff about Elliot Page is going to be playing Achilles and Brad Pitt played Achilles last time and now it's Elliot Page. Of course, if those people who had been attacking the movie had ever actually read any of the works of Homer, they would know that Achilles features in the prequel to the Odyssey, that is the Iliad, and he's killed at Troy. So there's no way that Achilles is going to feature in the Odyssey unless it's in flashback. Anyway, he doesn't feature. So no wonder nothing was said about this silliness online about Elliot Page playing Achilles. But by the way, Page, who plays Sinon, plays that part brilliantly. And there's a scene, spoiler alert, where Elliot Page comes back, as it were, from the underworld, from the dead, and it's a very haunting scene. What I really loved was the way in which Christopher Nolan has mixed the supernatural, the world of the gods, with the real world. And what a contrast with that dismal movie, Troy, made in 2004, which basically excluded the gods entirely from the story. Now, I'm not a religious person. In fact, I'm an atheist. But you can't tell an ancient Greek story without the gods. They are part of the story. In the minds of those who were involved, they believed that the gods were either directing them or obstructing them, whatever. But the gods are brought back in, and also the supernatural. So this amazing scene where we see Circe, this character called Circe, played by Samantha Morton, another brilliant performance, where she's turning some of Odysseus's troops into pigs, and it's a really gruesome transformation scene, a bit reminiscent of Werewolf in London or Michael Jackson's Thriller. And then all that fuss about Lupita Nyong'o. She plays two characters in the film who are portrayed as twins, that is Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra, and she does a perfectly creditable performance in both. In fact, I think one of the strengths of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey compared to Troy, which a lot of the right-wing bloggers were kind of holding up Troy as an example of what a film on ancient Greece should be like, is actually in Troy, the female performances, not the fault of the actors, but the way they were written, were very weak, whereas the women in the Odyssey are strong characters, particularly, for example, Anne Hathaway as Penelope, who is a rock, a strong queen in this film, resisting all these lascivious suitors. And then remember all that nonsense about how dare Travis Scott play the bard. Well, go and see the movie, because he hasn't got a huge part, but his depiction of the bard, obviously under Nolan's direction, is incredibly original, incredibly authentic, and I think really conveys what a figure like that would have been in a banqueting hall trying to hold everybody's attention. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's he's very gripping when he's on screen, so kudos to him. Ahead of watching The Odyssey at 8 in the morning, I rewatched Troy, as I said, 2004 movie Troy, what a disappointment to watch that movie. Honestly, once you've seen Odyssey, you can't watch Troy again. And then last night, I actually watched Jason and the Argonauts, the 1960s movie with 1963 movie with all the Ray Harryhausen special effects. And in some ways, Nolan has gone back to, particularly the scene with the sequence with the Cyclops was very reminiscent of that movie, using very modern special effects. But that is a movie, I think, that stands up to a rewatch next to the Odyssey and is equally gripping. But for all those people who've expended so much illogical hatred against this movie, and by the way as well, those historians who don't seem to understand what historical fiction is, which kind of means they don't actually understand Homer, because Homer wasn't a journalist, Homer was a storyteller, and Christopher Nolan is a storyteller, and a brilliant storyteller too. So the gobby historians and the right-wing bots, trolls and edgelords, you are looking very foolish now, because actually I think you've helped this movie become a smash success. But in the end, what's really ensuring its success is that it's a great movie. And by the way, I must give a shout out to Matt Damon, who's never been one of my favourite actors. But goodness me, I think this is the making of Matt Damon, and he stands a very good chance of walking off with the Best Actor category in the next Oscars. Go see it. Do not be put off by what you've seen on social media. This is the movie of the century.